Have you ever heard of an herb called Shatavari? It seems to be everywhere lately, right? It's got this legendary reputation with some seriously big claims about it being a miracle tonic for women's health. But what does the science actually say about all this? In this explainer, we're going to dig in and try to separate the hype from the hard evidence. Okay, so let's just start with the name, because it's pretty wild. The word Shatavari literally translates from Sanskrit to "she who possesses 100 husbands." Whoa. I mean, that name alone gives you a pretty good idea of its reputation in Ayurvedic tradition, right? It's seen as this incredibly powerful, rejuvenating tonic, especially for female vitality. That definitely sets the bar high.
And you better believe modern marketing has run with that idea. Just look at the sheer range of benefits you'll see listed. We're talking about everything from balancing your hormones and boosting fertility to making menopause easier and helping your body just deal with stress. It's really positioned as the ultimate female health supplement, the whole shebang. So yeah, this is the hype we're here to look into.
So where did a reputation like that even come from? How does one little plant get a title as epic as the Queen of Herbs? Let's rewind a bit and look at the legend, which is built on literally centuries of traditional use.
And here's the plant behind the whole legend, Asparagus racemosus. Now, just to be clear, this isn't the asparagus you pick up at the grocery store for dinner. It's a totally different climbing plant that grows in places like India and the Himalayas. For thousands of years, its roots have been an absolute cornerstone of Ayurvedic medicine. It's the queen of herbs and the go-to rejuvenative tonic for women's health. Okay, so that's the tradition, that's the legend, but you know what we've got to ask? What happens when we take this ancient queen and stick her under a modern microscope? Let's take a look at the scientific promise. Well, when scientists started digging into it, they found the root of this plant is just packed with active compounds, these things called phytochemicals. So it's not just a plant. Think of it more like a tiny natural chemical factory. It's producing these things called shatavarins, isoflavones, which can kind of act like estrogen, and even unique alkaloids. These are the little guys that are believed to be doing all the heavy lifting, the engines behind all the effects.
So what can these compounds actually do? Well, in the lab, the results are pretty darn impressive. In what we call preclinical studies, so think tests in petri dishes and on animals, they've seen a whole range of activity. We're talking anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, immune boosting, even anti-ulcer effects. At this point in the story, the science looks incredibly strong. You're probably thinking, wow, sign me up.
Yeah, it all sounds almost too good to be true, doesn't it? You've got this amazing legend, and now you've got a laundry list of promising lab results. Well, here's where our story takes a really important sharp turn. It is definitely time for a reality check. And boom, there it is. This statement, which is from Wikipedia's well-cited page, just slams the brakes on the whole hype train. It basically says that despite all that cool stuff they saw in the lab, there isn't any high-quality clinical evidence, and that means good studies on humans, to prove it actually works for anything. So wait, what's going on here? This is the gap, and it's really important to understand. You've got lab and animal studies on one side, and they are fantastic for exploring potential. But on the other side, you've got human clinical trials, which are the absolute gold standard for proving something is actually safe and effective for us. And honestly, this is a common hurdle for a lot of herbal medicines. Think about it. Who's going to spend millions of dollars on huge human trials for a plant you can't patent? So this really brings us to the core of the whole thing. Shatavari is kind of stuck in this gray area between potential and proof. There's a ton of really exciting preclinical research that makes it look great, but it just hasn't made that final jump. It hasn't been confirmed by the big, rigorous human studies that science needs for a final stamp of approval.
So where does all this leave us? Is it all just hype? Is there still something to this ancient herb? Let's pull all the threads together and get to the bottom line.
All right, here's a balanced way to look at it. Shatavari absolutely has centuries of respected traditional use. You can't just ignore that. We know it contains these powerful bioactive compounds, and those lab studies are genuinely promising. But, and it's a big but, that final piece of the puzzle, the high-quality human proof, is just not there yet. Now, this doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means it hasn't been proven to work to the highest scientific standard. So for anyone who chooses to follow that traditional path, here's how it's generally done. The dosage usually falls somewhere between 500 and 2,000 milligrams a day. It's often mixed with warm milk or water, which is traditionally believed to help with absorption. And, like a lot of herbal approaches, consistency is key. This isn't a one-time fix.
It's thought that the best results come after 2 or 3 months of using it pretty consistently.
But of course, we have to talk about safety. This is super important. While Shatavari is generally considered pretty safe, it is crucial, absolutely crucial, that you talk to your doctor before trying it. Especially if you're on any kind of hormone therapy, have kidney disease, or you're on medication for diabetes. And it's also worth noting that one animal study raised some concerns about really high doses during pregnancy, so you definitely want to be cautious.
So we kind of end right where we started, with this huge question. Is Shatavari an ancient panacea, a time-tested remedy that modern science just hasn't caught up with yet? Or is it more of a case of unproven potential, where the hype has really gotten ahead of the evidence? For now, it seems the real answer is probably floating somewhere in that gray area right in the middle.